Well, good morning, and thank you very much, as usual, for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Let's talk security today. And before I go any further, let me say that my guest is Dr. Tony Ofoyetan. Dr. Ofoyetan also is one of those guys, needs very little introduction, at least on our channel. He's a lawyer. He's the Director General of the International Institute of Professional Security. Thank you, as always, for coming on, my brother.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Good morning, Lagosians.
Thank you very much, sir. Fine morning to you, too. Okay, when I said let's talk security, and that's because the Minister of Defense, Minister of Defense, Abubakar Badaru, his Minister of State in attendance, Bello Matawale, had promised improved security. Yeah, we'd like that. When he says improved security, I guess most people are going to be interested in what that really means, because you know, it's nowhere near where it should be, according to most ordinary people. Now, the ordinary people might not know very much what's going on and what the effort is that is being put on by all the security paraphernalia, but they still, because we don't feel a sense of safety, really, so I'm just going to kick that ball to Dr. Tony Ofoyetan and say, Tony, in what areas do you think, I mean, we all know about Boko Haram, we all know about bandits, but are there particular areas following from that promise that you'd say, fine, now that you've promised improved security, I hope this is in the shopping list. What would those things be?
Thank you. Good morning once again. Let me congratulate all the ministers and also wish them the very best. It's a good one to start with such zeal, knowing full well that security is just on the front burner, especially looking at all the avalanche of challenges we have in this country. So it's also expected that for a minister that wants to achieve results, he should be talking in such manner. And I expect that if he would achieve such result, he's going to be looking at core technocrats in that field to work with him. You are talking of a field that is extremely technical because it has direct impact on human lives and safety. And he is not in that field, as it were. But that doesn't mean that he can also pretend over that ministry.
Because that doesn't mean he can't make a success of that.
Yes, it doesn't, because these are people that have been governors. They have also been chief security officers of their respective states at one time or the other. And knowing full well that ministers and political appointees, they are not necessarily technocrats, but they are expected to work with technocrats in that specific field. You are talking of Festus, who is a lawyer in aviation and all those stuff like that. So as far as I'm concerned, anybody that is intelligent enough can work in any ministry. The main thing is your vision and the ability to identify those that are able, that will work with you and will achieve the desired result. Now, all will now key into the central objective of the government, the central goal, mission, and goals of the government, as it were. So if the government is talking of total security, reduction of crime to the barest minimum, and you are the Minister of Defense, you want to look at, identify first all the security challenges we have, and what are the roles of the military vis-a-vis those of the police in terms of internal security, and of course in terms of the protection of our territorial integrity and all those stuff like that. Once you are able to bring people that you know are good enough and will be devoid of politics now, you are a political appointee, but you are expected to work with technocrats. You are expected to work with core professionals, and you must be humble enough to listen to them. You must be humble enough. Whatever advice and whatever strategy they are putting on the table, all you need to do is look at if there are other counter advice or counter suggestions and strategy, put everything bare on the table during the security discussion and the like. And the best of it is what should be implemented, devoid of sentiment, devoid of ethnicity, devoid of politics. It is only at that point in time that he will succeed in what he is saying. If he is still bringing political mentality into security, he's going to fail ab initio. But once he is coming with that mentality that, look, I am an administrator, one is an administrator, one is an accountant. So I am going to, humble myself to listen to the core professionals in the Ministry of Defense and listen to their strategy and look at best practices and tell them that, okay, devoid of any other sentiment, this person should head this operation. This person should head this operation. And you are able to work hand in hand with the chief of all the service chiefs in terms of...
In fact, the minister has said that he's going to be engaging the Minister of Defense, talking about Badaru. Well, it was a meeting where both of them were attended. He was saying that, look, I'm going to engage the service chiefs individually and collectively, whatever that means. So it seems to me that, as we've just been saying, they know they're not core, military people themselves. So they must know that they are really going to have to do a crash course in learning what's what and what's not what. That's very, very important because there are a number of other ministers out there in President Tinubu's cabinet that are also going to have to do the same thing. That are going to have to learn what's what in the ministry that you have been assigned to. They don't know nothing about it. But I think we were talking about it before coming on air. Again, being a minister, forgive me when I say this, not that I'm saying that I could be one myself. It's not exactly rocket science.
No, it is not.
It's not exactly rocket science. But you've got to be a hell of an administrator, as you've just said. You've got to also, even though you see devoid of politics, there are going to have to be some political considerations. There were aspects of it that I imagine that they're just going to have to wise up and understand that that is what it takes. Because surely, you being a pro yourself, you're not going to tell me that the military has been devoid of politics and whoever is the minister is going to have to deal with them.
Yes, I agree with you. And that, unfortunately, is one of the killing virus, especially in security. It can work in other ministries, but it may not work successfully in security.
Okay. There are some ministries like that.
Yes.
Maybe health is another one like that.
Health, thank you. Health, security. These are places that core professionalism is required.
And the one that concerns law as well. What's that one? The Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
So those are places where you don't go and play politics. You don't go and play ethnic or nepotism and all those stuff like that. If you do it, you will see the result will be obvious, manifestly staring at your face as being failed. And
President Tinubu knows it because he warned them specifically on this score. You are Minister of the Federal Republic
of Nigeria.
Not of whatever your grouping is.
I agree.
And there was applause. And there was applause in there, meaning that the ministers themselves knew the score. That they're being trusted with much.
Let's hope and believe that. You see, if they are able to work with the permanent secretaries, and the permanent secretaries are able to open up. Because, even in the war against corruption you talk in Nigeria, I will tell you that if I have to advise Mr. President, for example, my focus is not going to be on the ministers and political appointees. It's going to be on the civil servant. The ministers that are just coming into the ministry, they know next to nothing about corruption in such ministry. It is the permanent secretaries and the directors that will tell them this is the way we've been doing it here. This is how to go about it. This is where to go. This is what to do. These are the accounts that are, domiciled. These are the accounts to put and all those stuff like that. And they are the people that will also tell you if you want to succeed, this is how to do. These are the policies that will help you to succeed, depending on your body language, depending on who they think you are. So if the minister, for example, the Minister of Defense, it's obvious that you are going to work with the Chief of Defense Staff. The Chief of Defense Staff should be more or less like somebody you call per second and relate with per second.
Because he knows the lie of the ground.
Yeah, he knows and all the service chiefs technically are under him, just as all of them are under the NSA and all those stuff like that.
So even though these guys have been governors and have had to deal with what is that thing? Security votes, chief security officer without any power. But people, they're not exactly strangers to these forces, these people that control all of these forces.
Architecture.
And the security architecture. And when you see them, they always are deferring to the civilian authority, which I think is an important thing. Yes, Nigeria has had its problems, its woes with military through the ages. But at the end of the day, we're coming into an era where the civilian authority needs to take charge, whether or not they are able to do so successfully. And quite frankly, I can't see why they wouldn't.
No, it's not the first time, Uncle Yori.
Yes.
Ribado's father was a Minister of Defense. So Kwankwaso was Minister of Defense in this country. So it's not the first time. And I can bet you it won't be the last time, depending on who the president feels is ready to work with in any of the ministries we have in the country. But the main thing is the person that is occupying that office having that vision to ensure that security is attained. You are talking of banditry is more or less like a rhetoric, what do you call it? In short, a recurring decimal, a kidnapping. You and I were afraid to travel by road, not necessarily because of accidents. We can maintain a speed limit and travel from here to Abuja and be safe, just cruising at a minimum speed limit, all to prevent accident. But can you do that to prevent robbery? Can you do that to prevent kidnapping? You know, and kidnapping, you are not just talking about kidnapping for ritual. You are for ritual. You are also talking about kidnapping for ransom. Both are extremely dangerous. So these are things that are major headache to the country today. You know,
I don't know how true it is, but we've been hearing that, well, these aspects of criminality that you're talking about are accepted, because I think a lot of those, this kind of criminals are hiding under the much larger groups of Boko Haram and some of those. And we've heard in the past that somehow the military architecture has been stymied in dealing with them, because we've been hearing that, well, at the same time, these are our people. These are Nigerians as well. We can't go against this whole situation as if we were going against an external enemy. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that, but maybe you can explain it a bit better.
You know, in counterinsurgency, you have the kinetic and the non-kinetic approach, depending on the situation. The first thing is to look at the carrot approach. You know, in terms of a campaign, in terms of plead, in terms of discouragement. Now, by so doing, you can also provide employment, provide social amenities, look at issues that would encourage anybody to join any banditry group or any terrorist group. Those reasons, try to remove them. And by removing all those reasons, you have succeeded in narrowing and restricting or reducing the volume of people that will find those level of crime attractive. Now, having done that, there are some that are demonically possessed. They are unrepentant. Now, that is where the non-kinetic, the kinetic approach comes in, which you call the military intervention or the intervention of force.
Of force.
You know, so both are highly instructive when it comes to counter-terrorism or counter-terrorism approach and all those stuff. They are highly instructive. But in terms of some of this, like kidnapping, for example, you know, you look at a lot of things, but I see that deterrent is a major force that the government can use to prevent kidnapping and in its totality. Our forests.
Yes, but this is the deterrence part of it. Not that I wanted to bring in many ministers' name in comparing with another one, but take the kind of approach, and don't comment on it because I know we could do a segue there, that Wike is adopting. I will step on toes. If you've done this that shouldn't be done, it's coming down. They say security is not like that.
No, that's not true. In security, you have those that are at the theater of operation. Those that are at the theater of operation, they are not eloquent grammatically. They don't speak the type of Queen's English we speak.